glad there's still so many people here. Looking forward to the beer myself. As you mentioned, we're in the production of stuff business as opposed to telecommunications and imagery. And we produce stuff that's unique to microgravity and is valuable to industry right now, and most important to our investors, is profitable. But what Pat asked me to talk to you about is not this. We can discuss it a little bit on the panel. But what Pat wanted me to talk to you about is how you get started with a microgravity production company. I'm sure a lot of you have ideas that you'd like to turn into a venture. And you've heard the talks about, well, okay, all you do is you go get an investor and then make sure it's a good investor and then go to work. But how? How do you do that? If you're like me and you don't have the pedigree, I'm not a serial entrepreneur. I didn't go to the right schools. I don't have an MBA. I don't live in Silicon Valley. So how do you do it? How do you get a business started? What I'm going to do is talk you through what we did. And I'm not saying it's the perfect way to do it, but you'll see the mistakes we made. And so if you decide to go forward, you can make your own mistakes, but not repeat the ones that we did. But first, a little philosophy. I don't know if you've seen these inspirational phrases and motivational pictures that float around on LinkedIn all the time, or at the bottom of emails. I never pay attention to them. But I've got one that you got to pay attention to. It's from a deep American thinker from the 1930s. And you'll see how this has actually guided us well. Okay, so first, we would have never survived Shark Tank. We had no product, we had no prototype, we certainly didn't have any revenue. All we had was PowerPoint charts. And I think this is how they would have reacted to us. So, given that you have that, what do you do? Let me give you a little quick history. I ran a division for Schaefer Corporation. It was the Space and Directed Energy Division, and I tried to get them involved. But aerospace and defense companies aren't interested in this kind of stuff until it's profitable already. So I had done some discussions and had met a wealthy investor and talked about space commercialization. Nothing really came of it. He seemed interested, but nothing came of that. And in December 2011, he gave me a call and he said, hey, I'd like to fund that venture we talked about. Can you fly out? And I said, sure. So I flew out. And he made an offer. He said, I will provide you 2 years funding, and in return, I want 50% of the company, and you can do whatever you want with the other 50%. I thought, well, that sounds pretty good. We did due diligence on the guy. He was legit, had businesses, never declared bankruptcy, was a real business person. So a partner and I, we left Schaefer, we quit Schaefer, formed the company, got office space, bought furniture, got computers, did all the things you got to do to get a company going, started doing research. And we had some small increments of funding initially, nothing like he promised. And within 2 months, it was pretty clear he had no money. We had several meetings, several discussions, but he was not going to be able to deliver. He had no funds, and we were kind of stuck. And by the way, if you're married, that really makes your wife happy. That really makes her happy. So what are we going to do? So listen to Mr. Fields. Don't be a damn fool about it. We decided to move on. We decided to form a space company. We just basically had to start all over because we're in now. We're in 100%. And you look at all this space money that was out there, and we thought, hey, we're going to take advantage of that. We created a nice, cool space logo. We did our business plan with a concept demo in 3 months, commercialization in 6 months, revenue in 12 months. It was really a nice business plan, and it focused on silicon carbide. There was a market pull. It wasn't something we had to push. The power electronics industry needs this, and they have no way of doing it that we can think of other than the way we do it in microgravity. So we thought this is easy. Plus, the state of New Mexico had Sun Mountain. So we thought this is going to be easy. We talked to all these guys, or tried to talk to all these guys, and this is what we got. That's a cricket. We got nothing. Nobody was interested. Nobody answered. We got one response, and this was from a company that invested in asteroid mining, which I love. I think it's a really cool idea. But the response we got from him was, well, we looked at your business plan. It's a little too risky. The revenue's too far off, and the market structure, infrastructure is not in place. And I thought, we're riskier than asteroid mining? How can that be? But clearly he didn't even read the business plan. It was a canned response. But there's a lesson here, and the lesson is, if you're getting the same response across the board when you're sending stuff out, it's real tempting to say, those guys are all a bunch of idiots, they don't get it. But it's probably you. You're not getting the message across. There's something that you have to do differently. And so we did. We decided to start a new company, but we didn't have any real feedback. We didn't know, was it the microgravity part that's chasing people away? Was it the business model? Was it silicon carbide they didn't believe? Or was it us? And we knew it couldn't be us, so it had to be one of the other two. So what we did is we said, we're going to create a new logo, and we're going to get rid of all the spacey stuff. We're going to make it high-tech, but make it just look normal. We kept our business plan identical. We didn't change a thing, except we got rid of the word microgravity, and we replaced it with the word process. And what we told everybody was we had a process that allowed us to make these changes to the material. And guess what? We used LinkedIn, we targeted all these early stage investors, and they talked to us. They came back to us. So the lesson here is you have to target people that are interested in solving the problem that you address. I wanted the space guys to get involved. I really wanted to be part of that. So instead of being a space company, we're a materials company. We use microgravity, but we're a materials company. We talked with a lot of investors, and we really got a good rapport going with Cottonwood Technology Fund. And Dave Blivens here, he's going to be on this panel next. And by the way, you can ask him what the hell he was thinking for investing in us. I think he's still trying to figure that out. But that went really well. But there's another thing you need to know about investors. They're herd animals. Investors don't like to go in alone. They like the idea of having a second set of eyeballs, look at the business plan, look at the structure and say, hey, it's a good idea. Then they feel comfortable. So Dave said, you got to go out and get another investor before we can go all in. He hooked us up with Sun Mountain. Went and talked to Sun Mountain. We thought, again, another knockout. We got a Santa Fe company. Sun Mountain's is a New Mexico company, but they weren't interested. We got no love from Sun Mountain. And there's a lesson there. And the lesson there is, remember before when I said sometimes it's you? Sometimes it's not you. Sometimes it's them. And one of the earlier speakers talked about it. Their investment model didn't fit what we were proposing for whatever reason. Even though other investors saw value from out of state and are willing to invest, they didn't. So what you have to do is just move on. You've got to have a fit, you've got to have a match, and you have a partnership, and Sun Mountain didn't have that partnership with us. Dave connected us with a bunch of investors, and we ended up getting a second investor from Canada. Couldn't get into Mexico, but we got Canada. And Pangea Ventures, and they're an advanced materials company, and they specialize in investing in advanced materials globally. What's nice about them is a lot of their strategic investors are corporations that will eventually line up to be customers for us once we get our process going. And that's kind of what you need to look for in these investors. So here we are, Cottonwood in the lead, Pangea is a co-investor. We just finished our round A. We're getting ready to ramp up for a Series B investment, and things are looking pretty good. But I want to give you one other thing. And again, this is kind of the thing that's glossed over, but talk a little bit about the pain when you start your own company. See, how does this, oh, here we go. Sorry, let me get this pointer going. Doesn't work. Oh, wait, there we go. Sorry, all right, we'll just go with it. And you see over in the far end, that's investor number one. So January 2012, That's when we left and we had our first investor who didn't have any money. Then we restarted in March, we restarted in May, we met Cottonwood in June. But there's a long dance that's got to take place after you meet an investor. We had due diligence to do, we had to adjust our business model. Cottonwood actually had some good suggestions. They were also getting their fund together. So what you see there in September is we were really frustrated. You know, we talked to other companies, and there were some companies that said, oh yeah, we'll invest, we want 80%. It's not gonna work. So what we did is we started talking to some aerospace companies, and we said, look, if you hire us for 3 years to work this project, we'll sign over our patents to you. That's how frustrated we were getting, because stop your paycheck for 9 months. It's really painful, it's not easy. So we were looking for a job. And Cottonwood came to us and said, no, don't do that. We'll help you set up a bridge fund, which is local investors, a short-term fund. And we got a couple angel investors, set up a 100K bridge fund, which kept us alive until May. They came in with the first small amount of funds. We had Pangea on board by September, and then we were off and running. But 19 months to get that started. And I've talked to other entrepreneurs. There's shorter timelines, there's longer timelines. You just got to plan for it. And that leads to the obvious lesson that nothing happens according to plan. And so you got to plan for it. The other recommendation I would make is if you're going to start, don't start on the far end. Start here closer to the funding part. Do the work on the side. Do it on weekends. Work with the investors. Do all you can to minimize that stress and pain before you get first funding. And then there's one last lesson. It's real tempting to self-fund. I'm going to strongly recommend resist the temptation to self-fund. Self-fund being you take a second mortgage, you max out your credit cards for a couple reasons. The obvious reason is you need that credibility of an investor. People will give you credibility if somebody else has invested in you. It's like your idea is real. If only you can fund yourself, there's a problem. Now there are exceptions. You know, if you're a lot smarter than I was, or you're rich, yeah, maybe you can do that. But you really need that wire brush scrub that comes from a professional investor who's going to sit down and say, wait a minute, that's a stupid assumption. What if we do this? What if we change that? Which is what we went through, and it paid off. It was really worth it. So strongly recommend against that temptation. Okay, I've got just one more thing to do. Okay, future of space commercialization for all you space geeks like me. But there's a serious side to this. The Ferengi Alliance as a model, unfettered capitalism. The Federation, wear red and march in a straight line. My opinion, it's my opinion and it's not politically correct, you want the unfettered capitalism. You want the innovation that comes with that and that push. And it's going to be ugly, and it's going to be messy, and it's going to be chaotic. Bad guys are going to win, good guys are going to lose. That's what happens. But that's going to get you in space a whole lot quicker and broader than anything else. That's all I got.